Have you ever wondered what separates the geniuses from us? People like Mozart, Einstein, Serena Williams, Leonardo, and Da Vinci, and the list goes on and on, Beethoven. They're all these geniuses throughout history that have done these incredible things. While Daniel Cole's book, The Talent Code, has a secret that becoming a genius or training to become a genius isn't as complicated as we think it is. There are a few steps to take to actually become a genius. Because here's the thing though, all geniuses, when you look up their brain map, have the same thing, a sticky white substance around their brain. And they've got more of this in supply. But I'm going to be talking about that more in detail later on. Right now, let's start with the first thing. The first thing is deep practice. If you ever heard of the concept of the 10,000 hours, pretty much states that if you work at something for 10,000 hours, you will become a professional at it. Think of it as a skateboarder, a computer coder, and the list goes on. If you focus 10,000 hours on one skill, you become excellent at it. Now, in Daniel Cole's book, he calls this deep practice, which goes a step deeper. Deep practice is all about focusing on becoming exceptional at a particular skill. Think about it as riding a bike. You know, when you're a kid, you're taught how to ride a bike, but you don't want to stop at the basic level of knowing how to get onto the bike. You want to be able to know how to ride the bike into the street. And the more you practice, the better you become. And the more you do it, the better you become. Or it's the same thing as driving a car. And this is the concept of the 10,000 hours or deep practice. When you focus on something, you move past the mediocrity level. You move into the pro level, the professional level, the experience level. You start becoming a professional at it. And deep practice is all about focusing and honing in your skills and your talent and making sure that you learn whatever you can. Particular point in time, right? You become experienced at that skill. So if you want to become a master pianist, you spend deep practice focusing on learning particular skills in order for you to become a great pianist. So why should we know why this is important? Because when you want to learn anything, it's not enough to just go on the surface level. You need to go dig deep within. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it, deep practice is about stepping out of your comfort zone and into the struggle zone. Now, the struggle zone is when you constantly challenge yourself. You're challenging yourself to learn something new. You're challenging yourself to experience something that might be difficult for you. And the more you challenge yourself, the easier it becomes, and the more focused you are, and the more you learn what you're supposed to learn. So if you want to learn how to speak a language excellently, then you need to focus and do deep practice in that. Because when there is no growth, how can you learn? And this is what deep practice is all about. It's about learning. It's about constantly learning and improving. And the same thing with if you want to become a YouTuber. When you learn something new, you keep on learning it and you keep on focusing on learning more and more things and challenge yourself. So you're not just focusing on talking head videos. You're focusing on adding B-roll, okay? Those behind the scenes shots, you know, the background videos. You figure out how to do cinematography, and the more you grow, that's when you actually become excellent at that particular skill. So when we're going to 2025, because this is a new year, we need to focus on learning in a way where we do deep practice rather than surface level learning. Now here's where the juicy part begins. Now, every single genius at the beginning of the video I said has something called a sticky gooey substance around their brain. Now, this is what they call melanin, okay? Melanin allows geniuses to exist. It gives them their superpower. You know, it makes it possible for them to unlock that hidden genius within them. So you're probably wondering, how do geniuses get melanin? And how can you do it? Because the whole concept of this video is for you to become like a genius, right? To unlock the potential for you to become a genius. So first of all, what exactly is melanin? It is an insulation for the wiring of your brain. And in this case, the wiring of a genius's brain. So the more you practice a skill, the more melanin you develop. And this wraps around your neural connections, making your movements a lot faster and more precise. So how is it can you develop melanin? Because it's not really that simple, because you have to do intentional practice in order for you to develop it. When you intentionally sit down and you focus on a particular skill and you make sure that you hone in that skill and you spend countless hours working on that skill. That's when you develop melanin. This is the thing though, you can't half-heartedly go through the motions and just try to get through something. It's just the same thing as why are some pianists greater than others? Because they intentionally do deep practice where the other ones are half-heartedly in it. Or why are some authors a lot better in storytelling than others? The same concept, deep practice. Why are some YouTubers excellent at being YouTubers compared to other YouTubers even though they've been on the same platform for the same amount of years? Intentional deep practice. And this is the secret code to being a genius, or to becoming a genius, or to training like a genius. Now here comes my favorite thing that I love to talk about, ignition. Now, this concept is different depending on what book you read. Some people call it your why, some call it your purpose, some call it, your master plan, whatever. But the concept is the same. Finding your why, the thing that ignites you, the thing that fuels your passion, the thing that makes you wake up in the morning, the thing that makes you jump up and down, the thing that makes you giddy, the thing that makes you smile. For authors, it's writing. For YouTubers, it's telling stories through videos. For podcasters, it's telling stories through audio. The concept is the same, right? We're all telling stories because we're all natural born storytellers, but the medium is different. So this is what your passion is. What do you love to do? Do you love to help people? Do you love to inspire people? Do you love to maybe make the world a better place? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to help your family? Whatever it is, your why helps you grow. Because when you have, a love for something, it's a lot easier for you to do something. But here's the thing though, every single genius, right, has at least one why. If we look at the greats like Einstein or Da Vinci, they all had numerous whys. Now, of course, there are geniuses like Serena Williams. Genius level is knowing how to play tennis, and Ronaldo, it's to do with the ball. But the concept is the same though. Like you can have one or multiple whys. It depends on what you're focusing on. So it all comes down to figuring out what ignited that passion, what fueled that flame, what made you rejoice. And this is going to go into my next point. He calls it the master coaches. Every single genius has a master coach. Now, if you were to go through the Greek history, you know, there's obviously Socrates and all these other people, Plato, and they all had someone they followed after, someone that taught them what they needed to be taught, right? And they became their master coaches. The same thing with tennis, the same thing with soccer, the same thing with football, the same thing with painting or writing. What is that person inspires you? Now, that person can be someone you're close to, or it can be someone you watch from a distance. That person could be someone who, you might have read their books, watched their YouTube videos, or listened to their podcasts. It really doesn't matter. The concept here is the same. Often the people we watch or we spend the time with become our teachers. Life is pretty much the greatest teacher, one of the greatest teachers, because it will teach you so many things. And when you have a master coach, you can figure out what exactly is your zone of genius, what exactly is the area you should focus on, what exactly is, your why, your purpose, the thing that ignites you, the thing that fuels you. And when you figure that out, it becomes a lot easier. Now, we come into the next point, which is all to do with embracing mistakes. Often we believe that when you're smarter, you don't believe in mistakes or that you don't make mistakes. But here's the thing though. Mistakes teach you. Mistakes help you grow. Mistakes are the building blocks for any successful journey. When we read any story and there's a central hero, a central character, and they're trekking through a forest or they're trekking on land and they're going through all these challenges, regardless of what it is, right? They all have made mistakes. Whether it was Frodo, I know I used to love Lord of the Rings as a kid, but as an example, whether it was Frodo, not really taking responsibility for having the ring and doing the wrong things when he should have done the right things, that mistake made him who he is. In real life, our mistakes can make us or break us. But here's the thing though, Mistakes can only break you if you allow them to break you. Mistakes can only hinder you if you allow them to hinder you. Mistakes can only stop you if you allow them to stop you. Because the reality is, the more you embrace your mistakes, the easier it is for you to learn. And the easier it is for you to grow. You think that it was pretty much simple that, Leonardo da Vinci sat in front of a canvas and at the first go he painted the Mona Lisa. No. Or what about Mozart? Yes, we know that he was, naturally a wonderkind, great and skillful at the piano. But after several tries, it's not that like he sat by the piano and got it instantly. He had to constantly keep trying to see which notes worked and which ones didn't. And that's the thing though. When we look at Ray Charles, the same thing. He had to figure out how to play a piano without the use of his eyes. And I could go on and on and on about all these people. And the reality on the ground is no mistake, right, can stop you unless you let it stop you. We learn and we grow from our mistakes. So what exactly now do you do with all this information? Because I mean, it's great and all, but what do you do with it? It's like I'm just piling everything on you and I'm expecting that you're going to understand it all. But here's the interesting thing though. You got to pick one skill and master it. One skill and master it to a point where you have spent so many hours at it that you're good at it, that you're naturally good at it. And I'm going to say that none of that's easy, right? But when you do that, you're going to become a genius. You're going to be training yourself to be a genius. You're going to be training yourself to unlock that genius within you because when you master a skill, so in 2025, you want to conquer 2025, and that's your goal for the year. What one skill can you master this year in order for you to make 2025 the best year of your life? Maybe it is learning coding. Maybe it is learning Python. Maybe it is learning the piano or the guitar or writing or painting, whatever it is. You just pick one and you spend 10,000 hours on it. Now, that might be a lot to some people, right? But you could do the 10,000 hour one, or you could focus on the deep practice one, where for a set amount of time, you are focused on practicing it. And one thing I've learned in going through this book, there are a lot of concepts, right? Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of concepts. These are only the nitty gritty. But you kind of learn how being a genius isn't something that comes from being born, right? That comes from being a baby. We often have this theory that you're either born a genius or you're not. But the reality is, when you look at all these people, they had something that we all really need, and that is being focused on mastering their skill. And that's how they became a genius. It's a simple concept, right? These are simple concepts, but applying it is the challenge. So I challenge you in 2025, pick one skill, master it, do deep practice, get a master coach, embrace your mistakes, and I can promise you that your year is going to be great. All right. Now, until next time, subscribe, like, so that you're always notified whenever new video comes out. But thank you so much for watching, and until next